Welcome back to WagerTalk TV. This is First Pitch. Join me today, Brian Leonard, Dave Koken, as usual, and mid-major Matt and Joseph. Start with you, Matt. How are things?
Things are going well. You know, the G-Man Choi train against Garrett Cole continues to cash, although I searched high and far. Only FanDuel had him to hit a homer, and DraftKings had him to have an RBI and a run, so they're starting to get smart on that. But I went 2-1, had the DJ LeMahieu over total bases. He had 2 singles, so that was a winner, and missed on the Clyde Edwards-Hilaire prop receiving yards by 1 yard, so that was kind of frustrating. But good day yesterday.
So both favorites cashed in yesterday. Both favorites. One underdog and one favorite. Brian, I'll throw it to you. I'm used to saying good afternoon, but to you, I believe it's good morning.
It is good morning. And unfortunately, I didn't have anything yesterday. I passed on everything. Too many question marks all around. But I do have a play up in baseball today. And I've got one of the 4 games, and I've got that loaded right now. And, pretty excited about today getting to be able to watch 4 straight baseball games. That's exciting.
Yeah, I think any sports fan loves to see that. Look at the schedule and see that. We can't complain about that, Brian. Dave, I'll start with this. You and I were on different sides of that Astros game, man. I thought after that first 5 innings, I had a little piece of both. Clients had full game. I had first 5 and full game. Wow. What a collapse there, and you got the victory. The Astros came to life.
Yes, they did. But more importantly, yesterday was the 14th anniversary of the passing of maybe the greatest of all time. Rodney Dangerfield died 14 years ago yesterday. And so in honor of Rodney Dangerfield, I don't do good impressions, but I got to try this one. I'll give you a Rodney. This is one of his best ever. Me and my wife are trying to quit smoking. We only smoke after sex. I haven't had a cigarette in 6 months. She's up to 2 packs a day. There's Rodney Dangerfield videos all over the place because yesterday was the anniversary of his passing. And if you're a Rodney fan, you just sit back and enjoy. And if you didn't know if you're too young and don't know who he was, he's just the greatest. To me, he might have been the greatest comic of all time. And his delivery is a lot better than mine. Anyway, as far as the baseball goes, the Astros at plus money were my only play yesterday, so I was very happy with that result. And I had a KBO play this morning, which won. We'll talk more about that with you, Andrew, because you had a big play that won. Football's been dynamite. I'm real happy with the way everything's going. I have a free play up today on one of the baseball games. I don't know if the video's been posted or not yet. I didn't write up the free play. This one's a video only, so follow me on Twitter. I believe it is not up yet on Twitter, and I don't know if it's up yet on the site, but it will be at WagerTalk.com. I have 2 college football games up now for Saturday, and there's a terrific special right now. $199. You can choose anybody you want. $199 for the rest of October. All access. Mm-hmm. So you get mine, you get everything I've got. For $199 through October 31st, it's a good deal. You had a big play yesterday, Andrew, a 5% play in KBO, and it got the money.
It got there. It's just a crazy league that is, Dave. I mean, you and I enjoyed doing a show together every day with that, and the scores that we see on a day-to-day basis with these teams, it's just hilarious to see, and we saw it come through. The Doosan Bears, -1.5, had to lay some chalk with it, but loved the number. The research was there. The analysis was there for the clients. And, happy to see the amount of people that decided to hop on that, although they might not usually bet that league in Korean baseball. Certainly a league that's proven to be profitable, just like Dave and I have found out. And for anybody out there that hopped on that, I appreciate it. And you'll see more of that over the next several weeks leading into the playoffs. Playoffs start, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, I believe the playoffs start October 18th for the Korean baseball. So obviously we have a lot of MLB action going up, but there's full KBO games going as well. So I had a 5% winner in the KBO this morning, 5:30 a.m. Eastern, 3% winner and 2% loser. But to be fully transparent, 0-2 yesterday in the MLB. However, actually 1-2 because I did give up my prop bet on Bassett, and that did cash when he got 4 strikeouts, needed over 3.5. So that did get there. I look at one strikeout prop I really do like today, and we'll get into that. And I'm sure Matt's going to have some prop bets for us as well. So without further ado, guys, we've got Terry Edelman as usual. Robert, everyone's saying nice Pat. This is a green screen. I wish that was my house behind me. It is not my house. The director, Philip, Jason, all of you guys, Elliot, Kelly, thanks so much for joining us here on First Pitch. Matt, we'll start with you with this first game. Early start, 2:08 Eastern, first pitch, Miami, Atlanta, Alcantara, and Fried.
Well, I mean, obviously, I feel like I have to play the role of Tony Finn here talking about Fried. I mean, Fried, you know what he does. I mean, he does really well. We've discussed this already. Probably the best left-hander in the league right now. Has decent numbers against Miami, but some of that is thrown off by the fact he got injured. That one, his last start against them only lasted an inning. Miami, had a sneaky, we talked about how often they weren't very good against lefties, but they finished the year hitting .265 against lefties in the regular season. The strikeout prop here is a little low. It's 4.5, and we know that the Marlins are prone at times to striking out, so I think that was rather interesting. And on the Alcantara side, he hasn't seen the Braves yet this year. He had good numbers against them last year, although he walked too many Braves. He's got a decent hard hit rate at 35.3%. He's only allowed one home run. But if you look, Ronald Acuna Jr. and Freddie Freeman have poor numbers against him. So there's a chance that I would like the first 5 under here potentially at 4. I think it's rather interesting. This is a Marlins team that's got everything, nothing to lose. I actually sprinkled a little bit on the Marlins to win this series too. I think the Marlins have a shot. They have the better pitching. They just need to get a little bit from their lineup here. But at the price that it was, I think the Marlins to win the series is not a bad bet either.
Sorry about that, guys. Just a little bit of a delay there. But Matt, to back that up and to add on to what you were saying, that's one I already had. And I believe you were talking about the Max Fried over strikeout prop, right? And you look at these numbers and we see yesterday with that early game, the first one we saw, both those spots were in play easily. And Bassett, it looked a little bit struggling. He'd get the count pretty good. It'd be 2 strikes and, pop fly or something like that. So these pitches are all different in their own way. But I do like that Max Fried strikeout prop over. Dave, what are your thoughts on this game?
Oh, I'm not going against Fried. You can build a case for Alcantara, and maybe the price is too high. But I did not like the way he pitched in the game last week. That was a playoff game. He got through it without a lot of damage done. Just want to punch up Alcantara on my computer here so I don't give phony stats out. There we go. He didn't have good control of the game. And this is it's a 1-game deal. So, you don't get hung up on this, but 1.35 ERA, but the xFIP was 6.68. He stranded everybody who got on. I don't know. And that was against an offense that's not as good as this one. I just can't go against Fried here. But I do think the price is more than reflecting the superiority of Fried, and I'm not going to lay that kind of a price. So it's a no play for me.
So Brian, it's a playoff game here. We're seeing like minus 200, minus 220 here. How do you handicap this and find a winning bet on spot here?
Yeah, first off, as regards to the Fried prop, in his 4 starts before he got hurt last time, he only pitched 1 inning against Miami. Every start he had 7 strikeouts, so he's had pretty good numbers there. But overall, his last 5 starts against Miami, he's only got a 48 game score, whereas Alcantara has only pitched against Atlanta 3 times with the 59 game score. I think it was touched on Miami against lefties. They're only 7-12 on the season, but when you take a look at their numbers, they're actually at 111. WRC plus on the season against lefties. So that's one of those situations where they've hit lefties pretty well. It just happened to be in those games they didn't get the pitching that they needed. And Atlanta's tied with the Dodgers for number 1 in Major League Baseball against righties with a 126 WRC plus. So we got 2 teams that hit the opposite handers very well here. Is both teams have hit lefties and righties good in this matchup. Fried's one of those guys that, you mentioned Tony. Tony's been on him all year long. He's an excellent pitcher, and we'll see how he bounces back here. He wants to have a good outing here because last time he faced this team, was a game he got hurt, but it'll be interesting here to see how these bats do against these two, solid pitchers. But I think the bats have a little bit of an advantage here. In my opinion, the line's just too high here. You can't take a team at this level that's this far into the playoffs and make them a 2-1 dog without a huge pitching advantage. And although, Fried's one of the best pitchers in baseball, Alcantara has been very good too. And in fact, his last 7 starts are all between each of them are both at 55, so they're both 5% better than league average. So they've been pretty equal lately. But once again, one of those starts for Fried was when he got hurt. So you got to give him a little bit of an advantage. But I think the line's too high. Last time I was on the show, I bet Miami, and they shut out the Cubs 2-0. Worked out well for me. I just don't think you can make a lot of money laying big numbers in the baseball playoffs at this point.
So, Brian, would you endorse that strikeout prop, like you said, over the last several games, besides that one start where he left early, 7 strikeouts? Obviously, the history is there. And the odds you're going to get on these strikeout props versus an odds just betting on this game, would you endorse the strikeout prop here?
No, what's the current number on that strikeout prop?
Well, I currently got 5.5 at a low number. I thought I heard Matt say 4.5 at a certain spot. So, Matt, what are you? I got 5.5 locked in.
4.5 when I woke up this morning on FanDuel. So and it just shows you have the key to shop around on props because you lost a little bit of value there.
Yeah, I feel like FanDuel, honestly, Matt, is different than every other place I look. I wish I lived in your state to have that.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Good, not 4.5, 5.5 is fair numbers. You always have to worry about how long the starter is going to go in the playoffs. But that being their best starter, I would expect him to be able to go as long as he's effective, and he should be somewhat effective against Miami.
We'll move on here, guys, into our next one. And Dave, I'll start with you with the Astros and the A's. Game 2.
I'm going to sit this one out. Got my win yesterday out of the Astros. If I had to bet this game, I'd take them again because they're on a roll now. That's 3-0. Since the postseason started, the bats are starting to come together, and their pedigree is showing, if you will. But I find this to be a tough matchup, and part of the reason for that is, look, if you watched yesterday's game, every fly ball basically left the stadium. Mm-hmm. The ball is carrying like crazy in this ballpark. You've got a couple of guys here who are pretty good at getting ground balls, especially Valdez, so maybe they can limit that. But after what I saw yesterday, it's like, unless I'm looking for an over, I don't think I'm going to play this because it's a crapshoot as to who hits more fly balls and gets more runs. I don't know. And I don't like the over here because of the 2 pitchers involved. Valdez has been really good, and he's got a really great ground ball percentage. And Manaea is a solid ground ball pitcher, and he's in pretty good form. So, I had to pass the game. If you're looking for a guess, I just take over in every game that they're playing at Dodger Stadium in day games. At night, it might be different, but it is crystal clear how the ball is carrying in that ballpark in day games, and this is another day game.
Yeah, that's just an understatement. How that every single. Man. I mean, Dave, I bet you could actually be looking out the window and hear the crack of the ball, or just crack of the bat. And you'll know that's going out of the park. You don't even have to see it.
But the thing of it is, there were balls. There were balls yesterday that went out that you didn't. It sounded like fly balls.
Exactly.
I mean, McCullers turned around after one of the home runs, and it had a look on his face like, "What the hell just happened?" I mean, it was a routine fly ball, and it just kept going and going and going. Makes it tough to handicap if you like the 2 pitchers involved. I mean, if in normal conditions, I'd look at this number and say 9. With those 2 guys, give me the under. But there's not a chance I'm going to bet the under after what I saw yesterday and what we've seen in day games at Dodger Stadium this year. It's been crazy.
Yeah, and a point that I wanted to bring up as far as this Astros team goes is just, like you said, they're rolling, Dave, but just how they're battling at their at-bats is just unbelievable right now. I mean, I know Bassett, the kind of pitcher that he is, he's not throwing crazy heat down the middle. He's trying to jam guys and make them work for their at-bats. But it just seems like this team right now is just refusing to strike out. It's pop fly, it's ground out or something. But, I'm happy I hit my strikeout prop, Matt. But this Astros team, like Dave said, they're looking good right now, and they're getting on base, and also they're showing some pretty, some ability to be clutch. They lost. If you're a first half better, that you lost that one with the Astros, but second half they came to play, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm kicking myself because I wanted to take Oakland the first 5 because, McCullers on the road, even though it's, a road game for both of them, is different than McCullers at home, and I didn't. You look at Manaea, he threw 61 pitches in 7 innings against the Astros just under a month ago. 7 innings, gave up 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts, 2 hits allowed. He threw 61 pitches in that game. Manaea has a bit of a rough history in the postseason. Last year, he got touched up by the Rays in 2 innings, gave up 3 home runs. A guy I was looking at today is actually Alex Bregman, 6-23 with 3 home runs against Manaea in his career. Plus, he crushes lefties throughout his career. So he's a guy I was looking at. And then Valdez. I mean, Valdez has been really good to me all year with the strikeout props. And he had 9 strikeouts in 7 innings against Oakland, back in August. And this is an A's team that struck out 24.2% of the time against left-handed pitchers. And they hit 220 against lefties. And yeah, the Dodger Stadium thing scares me a little bit here. But, I think there's a chance I might be back on the Valdez strikeout prop at 5.5 because I just think he's in good form right now. And, he got that postseason experience under his belt coming out of the bullpen against the Twins.
Yeah, and he was really good in that game, too.
What are you thinking here, Brian?
As to go with the strikeout props, just keep in mind that Houston against lefties only strikes out 19.7%. That's second best in baseball behind Washington at 18.5%, although the starter for Oakland's not a big strikeout pitcher. Neither team has really hit lefties this year. WRC plus, Houston's at 94, Oakland's at 93. My question would be, and I did watch that game yesterday, and the ball was flying out. But, the Dodgers play mostly night games, but is there any stats out there that show that Dodger day games, there's such a big difference? I know, the night games are on the West Coast. It's harder to score runs, but, it's a 1-game sample size, and I don't want to buy too much into it unless I see something where, Dodgers day games have been high scoring the last couple of years. Then I'd be more concerned about it.
Well,
the reason it's to me, it's, I don't know whether it's got to do with the weather conditions. I'm not a meteorologist, but all I know is if the ball was jumping like it did yesterday in a day game, why wouldn't it jump again today?
It all depends on the wind and.
From what I get, look at the weather; it's the same as yesterday.
Yeah. From
what I can see, I don't. Somebody mentioned last night, hey, did they bring out different baseballs? Never know. I don't. MLBs, they run things a little funny sometimes, and they might be looking at hey, we need some home runs here. That gets eyes on the product. I wouldn't put it past them.
It's 2020. It's the MLB. I wouldn't put them past them either, Dave. Brian, how about we start with you with this next one here, the Yankees and the Rays. First of all, what a game, exciting, and I got to say this. I follow this account on Twitter, and I saw this one tweet, and they always tweet out people's random bets they had. They bet on a home run in the next at bat when Stanton hits that grand slam, and it was like 24-1 odds. He goes up there and just slams it. I mean, can any team right now go run for run with this team? I mean, they just look unstoppable, Brian.
Well, they have the last 3 games. They've done very well, but keep in mind the game before that they were shut out. So it does happen. The Yankees have been all or nothing all season long, and that's the way it's been. Now they happen to be pretty healthy here, especially the big bats in the lineup. So that's something they haven't had all year long. But if there's one team out there that I feel confident of when playing the Yankees, it is Tampa Bay. They've won 8 out of 11 against the Yankees this year, although both teams have had their injury problems. But from a starter standpoint, Garcia is only a 50 game scorer so far this year. That's league average, whereas Glasnow 63. So there should be a pretty good advantage for Glasnow in this game. Last 5 starts against the Yankees, got a 54 average game score. Faced him 3 times this year. First time 34. That's by far his worst. Then he had 62 and 76. So last 2 games against the Yankees, he was very impressive. Yankees are hitting the ball very well right now. On the road, the Yankees this year 14-18 on the season, whereas Tampa Bay's 20-11 on the season. I wanted to bet Tampa Bay here, but the line is basically what I thought it would be, and so we're not getting an advantage into this game. I'd really like – I'm not a Yankees fan, never have been. I'd really like to see the Yankees get knocked out here, because if Oakland happens to advance and plays the Yankees, we can already decide that the Yankees are going to win that series. Between Oakland and Minnesota, their playoff demise has been the New York Yankees for the last decade. So I'm rooting for
the Cleveland Indians fan doesn't like the Yankees. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Neither does the Red Sox fan.
There's a lot of people that don't like the Yankees.
That's not a surprise to me if the Indians fan doesn't like the Yankees. Yeah.
But the fan part of me has nothing to do with the betting part of me.
Right.
Definitely.
And I made up my mind. I made up my mind going into this series. I'm not going to bet against the Yankees at all. Maybe if they face the Dodgers, that could be a different story. But this team is a monster. 20-7 on the season when both Stanton and Judge are in the lineup. They blew up. They didn't blow up Snell, but they hit him pretty hard. Mm-hmm. And then they just ruined the bullpen in the ninth inning. And that's the problem with them. I mean, you get a couple guys on, and it can turn into a big inning. And look, I like Glasnow better than Garcia, but laying a price, that's not going to happen. No chance of that for me. I would take the Yankees or pass. There's also all the pressure on the world is on Tampa here, because it's a best of 5. And if they lose this, they're done. Okay, they'll get swept. So, I mean, must game doesn't mean it's a will-win game. Mm-hmm. I hope Tampa wins, but I'm not betting on it. And if I were to bet on it, Yankees at any plus money would have to be the side I'd play.
It's just incredible because, Dave, how many times in this season, the 60-game season, did you and I discuss motivation? Which games matter, which games don't, and compared to a regular season, this was actually part of the handicap more than I feel like it ever has been for me. Looking at these games, look at the Yankees; they look like they've actually flipped a switch right now, and they're just in playoff mode. Like you said, you make the playoffs, go from there, and it's just they're in that mode, which is completely different. And obviously, they're had some health issues, but obviously those guys are back, and it doesn't really seem to be a concern. So it's kind of the same question that I've asked is just like, how many runs does the Tampa Bay Rays have to get here to win this game? But it just seems to be the same story as it was with the Indians. Anything you can do, I can do better. And that just seems to me to be the story of the Yankees this so far in the playoffs, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, look, as Dave said, I'm not going against the Yankees. At a plus price, I would even consider the Yankees against Glasnow. And so here's the thing. So if you look at a lot of the sports books, usually the total bases props are 1.5. For a lot of the Yankees today, they're a half. Like I'm looking at one book where Hicks, Judge, Gardner, Stanton, Urshela all are a half. So all they have to do is get a hit tonight. Also, Torres and Voit. So there's thinking that Glasnow's going to shut him down. But, I mean, Glasnow's been a little bit of a mixed bag against him. He does have the 22 strikeouts in 14.1 innings. My free play today over on sportsmemo.com, I'm going to take a shot on Garcia's strikeout over. And I know I'm a little worried about it because, if he gets touched up a little bit, it's going to be a quick exit because you could see Montgomery, you could see Happ, potentially piggyback him if it's early enough. But if you look, the Rays are striking out a ton lately. I was going back to the last couple games of the regular season, against the Phillies. They struck out a ton against Nola and Neris. They struck out a ton against Wheeler and Brogdon. There was a lot of strikeouts. And so the number's 4.5. Tampa hasn't seen him before. He's averaging 8.65 strikeouts per 9 innings. But you can find that free play on sportsmemo.com. I'll take a shot on Garcia's over for strikeouts. Outside of one start, he's had 6 or more every other time.
Like Matt said, find him over at Sports Memo, at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter, Brian Leonard at B Leonard Sports, and Dave Koken at Dave Koken. Find Dave, Brian, and I at WagerTalk.com. And guys, I want to mention as well, it is $2 Tuesday at both websites. We have Don Buster over at Sports Memo, and I believe Marco D'Angelo, $2 handicapper college football play up for him at WagerTalk.com. Also a great monthly special, like Dave mentioned. Incredible time to really hop on, guys. And I'm just excited to have football back. I mean, football's been back for weeks now, and it just seemed, just even handicapping the games, looking at it, reading stories about it, it's exciting, and we're in playoff season now for the MLB. A little bit disappointed, though, to have NBA closing down, and obviously NHL has been wrapped up for a little while. So thank you guys all for joining us here on the WagerTalk TV YouTube channel. Also, be sure to check out WagerTalk Today, the show happening just before this show every single day with Prez and Teddy. Ralph Michaels also a daily guest, and they also have a bookmaker on each day. I believe Dave's been on that a few times as well. Last but certainly not least, guys, the Padres and the Dodgers. Dave, do you want to discuss this game, or do you want to direct them over to Koken's Corner?
No, it's not up yet, so I'll talk about it here. The video is not up yet. I don't know why. I'm not the one to post the video. And, my attitude is as soon as I tape that thing, all other work at WagerTalk.com should be dropped immediately so that my video gets posted. But that didn't happen. So I'll just talk about it here, and you can watch the video later if you want. But the information will be the same as I'm going to give here. Clevenger is going to pitch, apparently, for the Padres tonight. I was looking at the Dodgers anyway. That put me on the Dodgers. Look, he hasn't pitched in a while. I don't know how long he's going to be able to go. And while it's relatively small sample because it's only this season, his first time through the lineup numbers this season have been absolutely horrible. Horrible. So, you got a rusty guy who might not be at the top of his game anyway. I don't know about what his health situation is. And he's got these ugly stats first time through the order. I think there's a decent chance the Dodgers are going to do some damage to him early on. The flip side of it is Walker Buehler, whose major problem this season has been blisters. He's had to leave games earlier than he'd like because of the blister issues. Well, that might happen again here. But his first time through the lineup numbers are absolutely spectacular. The OPS is like 4-something. So he's got his stuff rolling right now. I think there's a pretty big edge there for the Dodgers. The bullpen also favors the Dodgers. Even Kenley Jensen's really sketchy at this point because his last time out he threw like 88 miles an hour, that's not good. But they've got other guys out there, and the Padres bullpen has kind of been a mess because of injuries and the fact that they've just, I give the manager credit, he's mixed and matched them really well, but there's just not a lot of real good arms out there. The offense, as good as it is for the Padres, it's just better for the Dodgers. I thought this was a perfect spot to go -1. The money line's kind of high. It's going up now to -170. You can still get +120 on the runs line. I think you split the play. Half on the money line, half on the runs line. Dodgers are the play.
Matt, I look at this game and I use that expression, anything you could do, I could do better with that previous series. But realistically, I think it definitely works better with this series here. It's almost like Padres are the Dodgers 2.0, but not in a good way. Would you look at it the same way? I mean, looking at this Dodgers club and looking at the Padres, how they play and what they've been doing, I think the Dodgers is going to be the exact same thing. They both have the firepower throughout their lineup. But it's those little intangibles, those little hidden pieces that are going to be the difference here for the Dodgers.
Well, I think, going along with what Dave said, I think your play is probably in the first 5 because there is a chance Buehler only lasts 5 or 4 if the blister flares up, and then you've got to go through the Dodgers middle relief, which then gets you to their better bullpen arms. And you've got a Clevenger who knows how much he's going to go, 75 pitches, 80 pitches. So to me, if you think that the Dodgers are the edge there, you take the -0.5 in the first 5. They go through that first time through with Clevenger and beat him up a little bit. And then if Buehler leaves, you hope that he gets most of that 5 for you. I mean, if I knew that Buehler was going to go 7 or 8, I'd go, okay, let's go Dodgers full game here. But I think there's a chance Buehler goes 5. Maybe the blister flares or maybe it's earlier. And you consider the Dodgers -0.5 first 5. And by the way, Fernando Tatis Jr., the last 16 games is hitting 164. I mean, that's a big piece to their lineup that's struggling.
He's trying to kill everything.
Right.
This happens to young guys sometimes. He is trying to hit everything to Temecula. Well, they're not playing in San Diego, so that doesn't count here. Whatever someplace near Houston is. And that happens to young players. And it's happening to him right now. He's still when he makes contact, it's going a long way, but he's swinging and missing at an alarming rate right now. He's got to shorten up that stroke a little bit.
So yeah, so it's for me, it's the first 5 minus a half for the Dodgers here, and then you don't have to worry about the rest of the game.
What about yourself, Brian?
Just to counter that, I want the Dodgers in the late innings too, because there's how many times this year have we seen this team just smash somebody's bullpen late and turn a close game into a run? So I'm gonna go the other way. I want the full game. I can see your first 5 point. It's point well taken, but I want as many innings as I can get out of the Dodger offense. The same thing when I look at the Yankees. I want as many innings as I can get out of an offense like that.
Is that more so, Dave, because you just never know when it's going to just have a massive inning and just blow up because anywhere through the lineup, or is it just you don't want to isolate 5 innings?
No. I mean, you saw a perfect example of it last night. I'm not drawing a 1-game sample as a conclusion. It's a 4-3 game with the Yankees, and then they scored 5 runs in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
So Yankees runs line ends up winning. That's kind of the way I look at things when I'm doing first 5 as opposed to 9. Obviously, the factor in the bullpens, but the really good offenses, I want their full 9 innings because it might be the 6th, 7th, 8th. They might put that crooked number up and turn a close game into a romp. And the Dodgers have done that more than anybody this year. That's why their record. Brian, I think you've had the numbers on this, if I'm not mistaken. They've got a ridiculous record in terms of laying a run and a half in the games they win. They either win by 2 or more, or they lose the game.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on a couple things. First off, the Tatis slump happened to coincide when everybody started talking about him for MVP. He put a lot of pressure on a young kid that way, and I think he was trying to prove himself. Secondly, I don't think Clevenger's going to go 75, 80 innings. I would not expect that at all, especially against this hitting team that the Dodgers have. When you're looking at right-handers, the Dodgers number 1 with Atlanta and the Mets. They finished the season at 126 against righties, and right behind them, San Diego at 119. So these are 2 teams that hit righties really well. Walter Buehler has, in 5 starts against San Diego in his career, a 1.36 ERA. Last time he faced San Diego, he gave up 3 home runs, and he still had a 49-game score. That tells you how good he was overall. He gave up 3 solo home runs, and that's by far the worst start he had. The other starts were 77, 73, 88, and 73. So he's had the Padres number. I'm not one to play big favorites, but I'd have to agree with Dave here. Splitting it between the Dodgers and the -1.5 is probably the way to go here. Just San Diego is one of those teams that you don't know what you're going to get on a nightly basis. The Dodgers are pretty consistent. So I prefer the Dodgers here, and it's a situation for me that I think the starting pitcher edge is going to be a lot higher than just going off of the names here. Clevenger, even back when he was with the Indians this year, he really struggled in the first inning, gave up a lot of home runs. So it's the first time through the lineup. He's really struggled all season long. And this is a game where you can't afford to wait a guy out. You let him pitch, 4 or 5 innings, 80, 100 pitches, but you can't do that in the playoffs. You have to get your best pitchers in there. And one final thing, we talked about the Yankees yesterday with the Stanton Grand Slam. That wouldn't normally happen. Tampa Bay didn't have anybody in the bullpen. They just said, you know what, this is your game to win or lose, and the guy couldn't get the pitches he wanted. Tampa did not want to arm up any of their pitchers for the next few days because, as we all know, there's not going to be any days off. So that's something to keep an eye on here. If a team gets behind in that situation, they may not bring in their best relievers to try to get through that game because they've got to worry about them being healthy for the next game. So Tampa gave up on that game when it got to be that point. The announcers in the game even talked about it. They said this is his game. They didn't even warm up anybody. So even though it was a blowout at the end, chances are if it was a normal game, it still would have been a 2 or 3 run win for the Yankees and not the blowout that they showed.
Guys, I just want to mention everybody here in this chat box. Feel free to ask any questions. We see you commenting and giving your opinions and letting us know certain things. And we're definitely reading this. For anyone that thinks that we don't look at this, I'm not sure if I can speak on the behalf of the panel, but I certainly take a look at it, and we certainly do appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Just a reminder, Mondays and Tuesdays, great day to be a first-time buyer for WagerTalk or Sports Memo. $2 Tuesday, $2 less than a cup of coffee if you grab a best bet or a pick package from your favorite handicapper at WagerTalk or Sports Memo. This time around, it happens to be Don Buster and Marco D'Angelo. I believe Don Busters is in the NFL and Marco has a college football play up. And guys, for me in this game, I like the over. I like the over 8.5 here. I'm expecting some runs. I think the Padres will, need to get off to a good start here. They're going to have to hit Buehler early, and this Dodgers lineup is just too deep, and I think they'll get after early as well. And it's funny, Dave, because we talk about all season about the first half unders, full game overs. We're going to play it. A lot of guys in this chat box right now talking about giving yourself more of a chance to win with what you were talking about. I'm giving myself more of a chance to win with the full game over, and I think that even if I don't get it early, it'll come late. So I like this over 8.5 here, guys. Why don't we just go around the panel here? We'll start with you, Brian. Let everybody know again what they can grab from you today here at the website.
Yeah, I've got one play up in Major League Baseball. I'll start working on my college and NFL, more NFL early in the week, as I mentioned. College will be up later in the week, but just the one baseball today. It looks to be a small schedule with just the NBA and just the baseball today.
Dave?
I have the Dodgers -1 is my only play today. I'm not playing the other 3 games, so there's nothing to buy as far as baseball is concerned, and that's also the free play video if it's posted at some point. Package available, $199 for the rest of October. All plays. I've got 2 college football games up. By the way, if you buy Andrew's package, Andrew, I think you should have this as an add-on. Anybody who buys the package, you'll play any requests for them in that piano in the background.
That will have to find a really interesting way I'll have to bring a piano into my room here and put it behind the green screen or something.
What I want to know, Dave, does he pound the keys?
Yeah. Yeah, like I do on the keyboard. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, do you play any instruments, Dave? Do you play the piano?
No. I played a little trumpet. My dad was a good trumpet player. I played professionally for some time before World War II, and so I learned a little bit of that. A little guitar. I mean, I could play a few notes on the piano, but I never learned how to really play anything. So, air guitar.
Air guitar.
And I'm not very good at that. Okay.
Matt, what about yourself, man? Any strikeout props or any packages for the later weekend or anything to grab for you over at their website?
I have a 3-pack of props up for 2 for the A's game and then 1 for the Yankee game up on sportsmemo.com for $19. And then I already sent out to my clients an NFL play that I like at the line that we've got right now because I know the line's going to move. So if you join in, I recommend more the 3 to 7 day stuff. I know the month and everything's great, but I feel like, buying a 3 or 7 day is a good snapshot of what a person plays. Maybe you don't want to be a prop guy, then you wouldn't join me. So I've got an NFL play that I sent to my clients and a 3-pack of props up on sportsmemo.com.
Excellent, guys. So we're here on a Tuesday. It is $2 Tuesday, so remember to check that out, guys. And we'll be back again tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. Earlier starts here to first pitch, changing things up just based off the scheduling of the games. For Brian, for Dave, for Mid-Major Matt Josephs, good luck, guys. Enjoy the baseball all afternoon, like Brian Leonard said, and best of luck. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.